In retrospect, 2015 was a year in which we saw the return of the Jurassic Park series, reformed into Jurassic World, Star Wars giving a seventh entry in the franchise after 10 years, and then there's Mission Impossible that, after 4 years, comes back. In hindsight, most people would look at how these franchises would go on, and most people would probably take this film, even back then, for granted and not realize how special something like this could truly make a blockbuster feel as epic and as big as it can.
Open the door! Come on. Yeah, I'm trying. Benji, open that door right now! Oh my God!
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is directed by Christopher McQuarrie with a screenplay by Christopher McQuarrie and a story by Christopher McQuarrie and Drew Pearce. The film stars Tom Cruise, Jeremy Renner, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Ving Rhames, Sean Harris, and Alec Baldwin. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, Ethan and his team take on their most impossible mission yet when they have to eradicate an international rogue organization as highly skilled as they are and committed to destroying the IMF. We are on the fifth film. If you saw my review of Ghost Protocol, you know how much I love that film. I think that movie's amazing. It is damn near being perfect. It is almost close to being a perfect Mission Impossible. And so nobody wasn't sure if this film have it in itself to keep the series going. Usually by fifth movies, let's face it, people are just thinking that you're just drawing the series out for as much money as it is. And sure, maybe that's the case, but you can't deny how much effort is always being put into these films to make them summer blockbusters, or at the very least blockbusters in general. But once again, Cruise and company just knows how to keep these movies as exciting and as entertaining as possible, because I still think this is a great entry in this franchise. Now, I will say there are a few issues I will take with this film that some people may not be bothered by, but for me, it is a little bit, I guess you could say, of a nitpick, but I gotta be honest, these are still things that did kind of had me a little bit halted at certain points, but it's still, so far, a good addition to this series as a whole. So here are the positives. The performances. They are still stellar all across the board. Tom Cruise is still on point and stern as Ethan Hunt. And as always, Cruise shows his dedication and passion for this character and for this series. For as much as people make fun of Tom Cruise, and trust me, I have a problem with him, okay? I do, but I won't go any further than that because I think most people can know what my biggest gripe with him could be. I will say this man seems like such a very fun and all-around good guy to talk to with regards to these movies or just films in general, because of how much he truly cares about filmmaking. For as much as there has been a history with Tom Cruise and his antics, you cannot deny, though, he is an interesting guy, and for him to still keep Ethan Hunt's personality and his determination factor, I mean, come on, especially at his age, that's pretty impressive. And for him to just, again, still do all the crazy stunts, but we'll get to that in a little bit, it's already impressive enough, and come on, you can't go against that. But surprisingly, Simon Pegg is given much more to do this time around than he ever has in the franchise, and helps with bringing his own depth with playing Benji. And for this movie to really have Benji be a little bit more front and center is impressive. It's kind of awesome to see a character that's kind of known for just doing the tech stuff have some importance to this movie and actually carry a heavy weight of this film with him and Ethan. The two of them alone do really well, but Simon Pegg, he's just an all-around great actor, and I think he is not only funny, but he is very much an emotional part of this movie that I did find myself really liking. And both Cruise and Pegg have great chemistry with one another and shows their friendship on full display. You can tell how much these two probably had so much fun working together. And because Benji is more centered than anyone else in this film on the team, I think it really does show the camaraderie that both Hunt and Benji have for each other and the respect they have for one another. And that is because of the respect that both Cruise and Pegg have in these films, and you can just tell that they really do have a blast while working on this movie. Rebecca Ferguson is a welcome addition, adds a little intrigue with her character as Ilsa Faust, and as the movie goes on, it is interesting to see where her loyalty is in this film, whether she is wanting to help Ethan out or she is doing it for her agency. You don't know. But I think that is how the movie is designed to make you kind of question at certain points which side Ilsa is going to be on. And I think Rebecca Ferguson keeps that intrigue going all throughout, even towards the end. And both Cruise and Ferguson have a good dynamic with each other that shows the sparks between the two of them. I mean, come on. You can really tell that there's chemistry with one another, not just as friends, but even more than that. And I am all for it because the two of them, they kick a lot of ass, and I love seeing that. And to see both Cruise and Ferguson just duking it out among bad guys with each other, I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's really cool. And she adds herself as being another badass female character of the day. And the rest of the cast also pulls their way, whether it be Jeremy Renner, Ving, Rhames, Sean Harris, and Alec Baldwin. Can't go too much in depth into them because I did enjoy them, but not as much as the three that I did mention. But hey, I still really enjoyed and appreciated their time being put into the movie. The direction is solid. Director Christopher McQuarrie infuses his own style and tone from the other films entirely, but keeping it thrilling at the center of it, making this truly a summer blockbuster because, of course, this came out in July of 2015, and it really does show how much Christopher McQuarrie is different from the other directors, how he is not J.J. Abrams, how he's not Brian De Palma, how he's not Brad Bird. He is his own man, and how he infuses that energy all throughout this movie is on full display, and it shows how much he wanted audiences to be engaged and as thrilled as they can with the movie they're watching. The action is engaging. Every action sequence keeps the film exciting and fun to watch, adding more impressive and iconic action sequences to the series. And when I say iconic, I mean, come on. The poster for this movie, or at least the marketing, shows Tom Cruise hanging off of a plane. I mean, come on. If that's not iconic, I don't know what is. Or even some of the car chases or the gunfights. There's just stuff added here that keeps the film from feeling stale because of how much the choreographers of these sequences and the stunt team, they managed to map out how to make this all work and feel as exciting and as innovative as it can for a franchise by this point almost 20 years old. And to see it still continue with this film is really, truly remarkable. The music is amazing. Composer Joe Kramer is to elevating and adding more intensity to the franchise. As always, the theme song, it still delivers every time. Anytime that theme song comes up at the beginning of the movie, it just always hits. There's never a time where that theme song will ever get old. In my opinion, that is an iconic theme song for a franchise as a whole, and it's just great to see that still adds to already amazing music for this franchise. But really, I do think that Joe Kramer does add that thrill and engagement that the film does have, but adds even more with it. The cinematography is fast. Cinematographer Robert Elwes manages to heighten and keeping up. Elwes knows how to showcase the action and scenery very well. Coming back from what he did with Ghost Protocol and now returning for this movie, yeah, he knows how to do it. He knows how to capture it all, and it is amazing to see and behold. And when those action sequences go down, it's all wide shot. Love that. That is always my favorite, to have wide shot action sequences. I'm happy that it continues into this movie. The story is phenomenal. Having Hunt and his team go up against an evil organization that is like IMF while being hunted by the CIA, once again, made for a fun and tension-filled movie, making the audiences feel invested. I don't know what it is with Christopher McQuarrie and Drew Pearce, but they just know what the audiences go for these days, especially with action movies. And for this movie to still kind of reuse similar elements from previous movies, mainly something like the last movie, and apply it with this movie, yeah, you could say it's still kind of repeating and retrying the same old stuff, but it works. There's never a point where I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I feel like I'm watching the same movie as the last one. No, there's elements there, but it still feels like its own thing, and it all works very well, despite knowing that, yes, could it have come off as repetitive? Yes, of course, but it all works out in the end. The production is fantastic. The amount of effort and hard work paid off with every sequence in this entire film. Once again, Cruise risking his life is just jaw-dropping. This man, I keep on saying this, and I'm always going to say it, this man has a death wish. I don't know what it is. He is willing to die for the movies he makes. And god damn it, he does it so well. As much as you can sit there and say, like, no, they could have had stuff. No, people, no. If you know how Tom Cruise is in terms of his personality in camera and how he is behind the scenes, you know good and goddamn well that is him doing all of this crazy shit. It is impressive, it's insane, but really the production of it all, hard work and effort of putting together these action sequences to make them as thrilling as they can and as engaging as they can, it is still impressive to see the Mission Impossible series. They always top those, and they always are spot on with regards to making sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. The writing is actually great. Writer Christopher McQuarrie injects excitement and humor at the same time, but works really well, adding to the fun nature of the movie. As much as this movie, yes, you can say it's not Oscar worthy, because it's not. It still knows what it is, and it's crafted in a way where it does infuse all of the tension, excitement, and the humor that is interjected and blends it so well. Seamless. There's never a point in this movie where it feels out of place or it feels like there's no tension at all. Christopher McQuarrie, he knew how to make sure with the right touch to make this as good as it can. It's another great installment, but it has a few issues that keeps it down for me. I would put this on the same level as the first movie, but I would probably give this a little bit more of an edge. But now here are my negatives. The side characters just don't add much. Though I love seeing Luther again. Trust me, I love Ving Rhames. No matter how much he showed up in this movie, and even though he was only kind of like a cameo in the last movie, I still love seeing Luther come back every time. And although I enjoy seeing Brandt being brought back with Jeremy Renner returning from Ghost Protocol into this movie, they do feel like they are reduced than the other characters. It's almost like because the movie was focused on Ethan, Benji, Ilsa, and then of course the Syndicate, as well as Solomon Lane, the main villain, I just feel like both William Brandt and unfortunately Luther just kind of feel their background, and that's the sad part. I wish they hadn't, mainly Luther. How dare you put my man Ving Rhames in the background? Don't you dare do that. He is cool. Don't you dare. Especially for a man who's been here since the first movie. Don't you dare do that to him. And I just wish they were given more to do. Especially since this was, I think, the last movie that Jeremy Renner would appear in this franchise. I'm just surprised that for as much as he was given in the last movie, he's not given much here. He's just kind of there to just add another person to the team. And honestly, I think you could have replaced him with Ilsa by the end of this, and it could have all worked out. But yeah, it just doesn't add much to it. The villain's plan feels convoluted. I really enjoy the villain, Solomon Lane, as I mentioned, played by Sean Harris, and his organization. I think it's a really cool idea to have an equal organization in the Mission Impossible universe to have to go up against the IMF. But his plan does seem, I don't know, at times confusing. Either maybe because of how Sean Harris speaks at times can be a little bit hard, and just how complicating it can be. Like, if you stop to think about it, it is kind of a mess because there are parts where at the beginning of this movie he is wanting to rough up Ethan and to just beat him down. And then at one point he wants Ilsa to then kill him. It's like, okay, fine. But by the end of the movie, he wants him alive, but when he goes after him, he just tries to kill him. So it's almost like, I don't know what he's trying to do here, but he is just making this way too convoluted as possible to get what he wants. But also, too, I feel like he's just not even listening to his own advice because he's also kind of going against what he just said to his men. I want Ethan alive. Meanwhile, after I go after him, I'm starting to shoot him. Like, what? You're trying to get information from him. Why are you shooting him? But, okay, alright. I guess you could say it right, but to me, if you stop to really think about it, it just feels like it's a little convoluted by the end of it. It's amazing to see a series still continue to be as strong as it is, even now. It also shows how the series continues to innovate itself while it still retains the core nature of the series. The heightened tension, the suspense, the thrills, humor, the excitement, and it just is keeping the franchise alive through these means, these changes, these little increments of just adjusting to the right things to make this movie work. It's impressive. And for Tom Cruise, Christopher McQuarrie, all of them, it's a detriment to see how much they put the effort and time to making sure that this delivers for not just fans, but for moviegoers alike. I'm going to give Mission Impossible Rogue Nation an 8 out of 10. I think this is a great entry in this franchise, and I still think that as much as this is the 5th movie, don't count this one out, because it truly does live up to being a great and fun action film overall, and it just shows that Mission Impossible can still keep on going and still delivering on things that audiences will come to expect from this franchise, and hopefully more. So I will soon be doing my review for Mission Impossible Fallout, so yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.